We did seem to be seeing a little bit of that. And Professor Gui, how did this statement compare with those of his predecessors, especially the famous one by Shinichi Murayama 20 years ago?
Well, compared with the Murayama statement 20 years ago, this Abe's statement gives us an impression that he wants to use more abstract and in a way ambiguous terms to describe Japan's wartime history, while the Murayama statement is much more direct and, of course, gives us a feeling of more sincere knowledge view to Japan's wartime history. And, for example, in the Abe statement, he did use the term aggression, but he used it in a pretty much abstract way. And when he referred to what the Japanese army really did during the war, he actually used pretty much abstract terms such as using force to break diplomatic stalemate, or using force to address international disputes, or simply to challenge international order. By using all these abstract terms, the Prime Minister, they actually gives us the feeling, an impression that he tries to escape to directly address the nature of the war of aggression.
Dr. Lin, as you two have mentioned that, and the world have also noticed that Mr. Abe stopped short of new apologies, and how much of a difference is there between referencing the apologies and statements made in the past and expressing remorse versus that plus making your own apology? Do you think an apology from his own mouth directly really matters that much?
The statement is one out of many elements in any bilateral relation. Part of bilateral relations come with a very complex set of conditions, both in terms of historical memory and also other contemporary issues. And the statement can be seen as part of the string of events that happened since APEC in Beijing last year. And because the issue is so complex, it will probably take a very long time for processes of reconciliation to take place. With regards to Prime Minister Abe's statement, quote and unquote, he mentioned that Japan has repeatedly expressed the feelings of deep remorse and heartfelt apology for its actions during the war. And in his own words, he said he squarely contemplated the obvious facts of history, and even now he finds himself speechless and his heart rent with utmost grief. So those were the statements that he made. Statement itself is important, but it can be contextualized in a series of events that's needed for any reconciliation or resolution of the historical issues to take place.
And Professor Gui, what's your take on that? Whether Abe said that word matters that much?
Well, I think it still matters much. And what seems more problematic is that he actually said in a statement that he does not want future generations of the Japanese people to apologize for the war, which he believes has nothing to do with the current or future younger generation in Japan. This gives us some kind of impression that he believes that there is no need to apologize for Japan's wartime atrocity anymore. But this is against the willingness of many people in Japan, and also this has ignored the fact that many victims and their families are still suffering from their memory of the war of aggression. And I think that this kind of statement or position has some kind of, let's say, neglected or lacks respect to the former victims and their families during the Second World War. So I believe that a direct apology to those victims who are suffering would be necessary for the Japanese Prime Minister.
Well, obviously his remarks were not certainly what everyone had hoped for, but at the same time, would you say, at what point would you say it would be satisfactory for Japan to not apologize anymore? Would that come at a point when after they've maybe completely faced all the facts of history as they are, not as they'd like them to be? Or at what point would that be all right again for them to not apologize anymore?
Well, of course, this is, first of all, this is should be the decision of the Japanese people themselves, because whether to apologize or not should come from the heart of the victimizers, and this also should be followed by a long time, let's say, communication and mutual exchanges between the Japanese people and the Chinese people and other Asian people, especially those who have directly suffered from war. So only when the two sides have gained comprehensive and deep mutual understanding of each other's feelings can we say that the reconciliation between the Japan and other countries can be realized. So I think this should be a long-term effort by both the Japanese government and the Japanese people and the victims in Asian countries.
You're listening to People in the Know with me, Brian Kopczynski, and Tuyum. We'll be back after this.
What's happening in China? What's happening in China? What's happening in the world? What's happening in the world? People in the Know. The in-depth current affairs show with insights on the news that shapes China and the world. People in the Know helps you to know the world better.
Anyhow, you're listening to People in the Know, presenting you with insights into the headlines in China and around the world. I'm Brian Kopczynski in Beijing. Today we're discussing Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's statement marking the 70th anniversary of Japan's defeat in World War II. For more on the issue, my colleague Tuyun and I spoke to Guiyong Pu, assistant professor at the School of International Studies of Peking University, and Dr. Lin Tai-Wei, senior lecturer at SIM University of Singapore and research fellow adjunct of National University of Singapore East Asian Institute.
And Dr. Lin, do you think the Abe's speech or statement showed any, of his sincerity, in acknowledging history, or to any extent?
I think he was making the statement in the official capacity, and it also reflects many different voices in Japan. As you know, Japan is a democratic society, so even the advisory panel that was set up to advise the Prime Minister was also made up by a pluralistic collection of experts and historians. So his statement would have taken into account the collective ideas and also the expressions with regards to this event by different people and sections. And Japan itself is a consensual-seeking society. So when he made this statement in the official capacity, he probably has taken the cultural context into mind as well. So he would have sort of contextualized his own ideas together with his collective cabinet leadership, as well as the experts' advice on it. And in his second sentence that directly follows the post-war generation issue, he says, quote and unquote, still, even so, we Japanese across generations must squarely face the history of the past. We have the responsibility to inherit the past in all its humbleness and pass it on to the future, unquote. So he does take into consideration post-war generation as well.
Well, but more frequently, he refers to Japan in wartime period as some challenger to the new international order that international communities sought to establish after tremendous sacrifices. Don't you think he was trying to, delude to any extent Japan's role there, or try to, take some responsibility off by referring it as some challenger, which sometimes could be a good thing, to the old order or something like that, as some analysts have pointed out?
In his statement, he mentioned the historical context. He says with the Manchurian incident, it was followed by Japan's withdrawal from the League of Nations, and thereafter Japan gradually transformed itself into a challenger to a new international order that the international community sought to establish after tremendous sacrifices. And the sentence that follows this historical context should be taken note of. The sentence reads, Japan took the wrong course and advanced along the road to war. And 70 years ago, Japan was defeated. So in his statement, the opinion of the statement was that Japan took the wrong course after challenging the international order, and that led to the road to the war.
Professor Gui, what's your take on that? Do you think Abe could have missed a historical critical opportunity, as some put it, to mend relations with its neighbors?
Well, I think that there are two aspects to this question. Mm-hmm. On the one hand, there is true demand, political and economic demand in Japan to mend Japan's relations with its neighbors, especially South Korea and China. And Prime Minister Abe, as the political leader of Japan, is trying to answer this kind of domestic demand. But on the other hand, Prime Minister Abe represents a very much conservative political trend in Japan, which is strengthening recent years. And so on the other hand, he also fails to directly address Japan's war responsibility and and make a clear-cut statement on the 70th war anniversary. Mm-hmm. So I think that the message has sent has been mixed. We can understand to some extent that the current Japanese government does want to improve its relations with Asian neighbors, but on the other hand, with a very conservative political leader and very conservative political trend in the current Japan's domestic context, we find it still pretty much difficult to significantly improve the relationship. So much more effort need to be made to really mend the relations and pursue reconciliation.
You're listening to People in the Know with me, Brian Kopczynski, and Tuyum. We'll be back after this.
What's happening in China? What's happening in China? What's happening in the world? What's happening in the world? People in the know. The in-depth current affairs show with